Welcome to the Geek Easy, fellow geeks. Let's open a beverage of your choice. First of all, you'll have to excuse these. I got an kind of an eye infection. My eye's all swollen, so I don't really think you want to see my eye. It's all swollen up. So I'm wearing this, and it's also could be used as a reference to the star or the main attraction to this movie, which is called Dark Match, starring Chris Jericho. And he's one of his things is to wearing glasses like this. It is a 2024 movie that was just released on the 31st of January. It is a supernatural horror movie set around independent wrestling, which I don't think I've ever seen a horror movie set around independent wrestling before. I'm not saying there isn't one, but this is the first one I've seen. So it's kind of an original setting for that as far as I know. What we have is a small, like I said, independent wrestling company called Saw Wrestling. Which is kind of touring the country, and the central character is a woman by the name of, whose character's name is Misbehaving. I don't think they actually give her character's real name, but that isn't important for the story. She is a heel character, heel being bad guy, and she is African American, and that does play a part in this movie. And she goes against her usual opponent is another, a female, and I should actually know the character's name. Is another female who is the face, the baby face, and there, you have the other characters in there, and this movie, it covers the whole group. The main group of people they follow are the heels, and you can tell the company is just not financially solvent. They're right on the borderline of dissolving, and Misbehaving. She is dissatisfied because she thinks she should have the championship belt, but she thinks racism has something to do with this. This was set back in '88, and so she's kind of got an attitude, and she thinks that she does. You can't really tell if the wrestlers care whether she is racist. I mean, whether she's black, but they get booked for a dark match for this group of people. Where they're going to get paid like $50,000, and when they get there, it's kind of a cult. It looks right away that like it's some sort of extreme religious cult, and there are quite a few people in there who don't like her just because of her color. So there is a bit of racism in there, but it's not, but it's on the segment of the people who booked her, or the company. And Chris Jericho plays the leader of this group known as, oddly enough, and I say that sarcastically, the Leader. And you find out that he used to be a wrestler for that company by the name of The Prophet. And when they get there, you find this stuff out, and there's just this wild party with, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And they are there to celebrate Lupercalia? I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that's the big feast, the reason for the party and reason for the matches. And I looked Lupercalia up, and it is a Roman celebration which some people say led into the modern Valentine's Day. It was a lot more wild. There was, sex, drugs, rock and roll celebration. Well, not rock and roll. They didn't have that back then. But just wild. They're with the Romans, as what they would normally do. Very amorous, to say the least. Wild, and there's also sacrifices. And as usual with stuff like these movies, they somehow connected this to supposedly Satanism. There's going to be 5 matches. You can sort of see there's this huge party the night before where they're just using just debauchery and everything, and at some point you see a big some posters indicating who the people in the matches are, and then the 5th match is going to be, it doesn't show who it is, it just says 5th match. So you sort of suspect that it's just going to be one of those goes on to that. But then, of course, stuff doesn't go the way you expected. Because right when you get there, you just get a bad feeling about this place. There's... at first it just seems like, yeah, great, walk in there and they're playing Kiss, I think it's Detroit Rock City, I think, if I remember the song. But it's from that, from their earlier albums. And, with Chris Jericho involved, they've got some good music. And, there's just all stuff going on, and they just get, as people get loaded, they all go off and enjoy themselves. But you also begin to see this certain stuff going on, because that's when one of the characters, Misbehaving's boyfriend, who's been around for a long time, who had fought Chris Jericho's character, sees him and realizes who he is, and he's like, uh-oh, something's up, because you find out that he had they'd had issues before. And then there's just certain little things you begin to see, like there's kind of a Nixium kind of connection in there that one of the guys gets branded by the women that he's in bed with. And, that's the cool thing is in here. The progression of the story up to when the matches start, it is... nothing's forced. It just... things seem, to go as things would in life. You get... the guy gets the call, they go off to where they're going. They have the two vans because they follow what is referred to as kayfabe in the industry back then, where, so you have, to use, phrases, people that you might recognize if you're a wrestling fan. You couldn't have, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant riding in the same, or traveling together, because they're enemies. You wouldn't, have them seen hanging out together out there, because why would people who hate each other be hanging out together and having a good time? So they travel in separate vans and go there. And when they get to this place, it's like, this is weird, it's a house. But some people notice a couple odd things at first, but most don't, because they're, it's like, hey, party, we're getting paid a good amount of money for being here. And again, like they just, the main people you follow are the group of heels. And it's not until the matches start that they understand that things start going wrong. I'm not gonna say what happens or why they're doing this. But you begin to understand why the bad guys are doing this, why certain, the motivations of the wrestlers in here, and it all wraps up really nicely at the end. I mean, it's a short movie. It's a little under an hour and a half, and so there's not really any extraneous material in there. There's not any scenes that should really be cut out, really. Everything in there seems dependent. Everything next depends on the previous stuff, and there's not any scene where like, well, why are they going out? They have to have known what's going on. I mean, once they find out, the heroes find out, they react accordingly, and do what they can and react smartly. So it is a well done and well crafted movie, and just entertaining. I don't think you really have to be a wrestling fan to enjoy this movie. You can be just kind of a horror fan in the supernatural, fight for your survival type of movie fan to enjoy this, and it just happens to be wrestling. So you get that added bonus in there. And I I enjoyed it. I mean, I'll give it a, you know, 4.5 out of 5 just because it was really well done and well acted. There's even a couple of really funny moments in there that, you know, I didn't expect, like, you know, one character asks another character, how do you manage to do this? And the guy just says, kayfabe. Which was a really funny answer. You know, if you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I recommend it. It's a fun movie. It won't take too long to watch. It's not, like I said, it's not boring. And sit down and watch it. Have a good time. So let me know in the comments below whether you watched it and what you thought of it. And like, subscribe, possibly share, and most of all, enjoy your wrestling and enjoy your horror movies.